Hi there everybody, I'm Cornelius Koopman and welcome to All About Property. Now many property buyers are not 100% sure where and how to pay the deposits on their new homes. But following the new Property Practitioners Act that came into effect earlier this year, home buyers now have more options when it comes to paying over deposits, and they can earn an interest on that deposit before it is paid over to the seller. And to shed light on the matter, I'm now joined by Jackie Smith from Buyers Trust. Jackie, welcome to All About Property.
Thanks, Cornelius. Thanks for having me.
Now, Jackie, what are some of the benefits of having a deposit ready when you're about to buy a new property?
Cornelius, there are so many benefits when you put down a deposit. Right from the offset, any seller will find you so much more attractive if you've got a 10, 20 or 30% deposit. You know, immediately you are putting equity in your home. So even if you go and you want to apply for a bond and the bank says, oh, you only want an 80% bond as opposed to a 100% bond, they would be more willing to give you a bond purely because they can see your level of commitment. And also when you have a deposit, you know, your standing with the bank in terms of trying to negotiate a better interest rate is far more favorable, you know, and putting in a deposit means that ultimately your repayment, your monthly repayments are less.
Now, at what point during the transfer process is this deposit payable?
Yeah, that's normally dependent on the deed of sale. So the standard, the industry standard is about 7 to 14 days, but the deed of sale will normally...
When you say 7 to 4, is that 7 to 14 days after signing?
100% correct. It's 7 to 14 days post the signature or acceptance of your offer by the seller.
Okay.
And yeah, that's normally determined by the deed of sale.
Now, they also say you should never pay your deposit directly into the seller's bank account. Why is this?
There's such a misconception that you have to pay your deposit to the seller. I mean, why would you do that, right? Firstly, the deposit has to be paid into an interest-bearing account, an account where your money is kept safe, purely because you don't want a situation that should the property transaction cancel for any reason, that you're going to hassle getting your money back from the seller. So ultimately, as a buyer going into the transaction, you want to make sure that your money is in a safe and secure environment and that it's not necessarily sitting with the seller or even with the seller's attorneys. You want it in an investment account that is, you know, where you've got visibility of that money.
Now, with regards to the new Property Practitioners Act, there's been some changes with regards to the deposit. Please shed some light.
Yeah, Cornelius, the new law under the Property Practitioners Act came into effect from the 1st of February 2022. The new changes to the law obviously has implications for both homeowners as well as for the industry at large, the property industry. But most importantly, what stood out in the Act is that property practitioners or real estate agents are now exempt from having to open up a trust account, obviously based on qualifying criteria. Now, you might ask, well, what is a trust account? A trust account is normally the account that the seller's attorney or the estate agent would have opened to hold any funds linked to the property transaction. So normally, like the buyer's deposit would have gone into that account.
Okay.
Yeah, so now that the attorney or the the estate agent is no longer the only option, you know, the playing field is now equal for multiple people in that space.
Now, tell me, Jackie, what are some of the advantages for the buyer with regards to these changes?
Like I said, it's all about choice now, right? Because now the buyer can now decide where he wants to put his deposit. Listen, the Property Practitioners Act, you know, acts in favor of both a home buyer and a home seller, or of the consumer.
Yes.
Right? So what this has opened up for a home buyer and for a seller is that they can now choose where or how to manage the funds relative to that property transaction.
Now, over and above the buyer putting the deposit into the attorney's trust account, there's this new platform called Buyer's Trust. Just give us a bit of insight. What exactly is Buyer's Trust, and how would the buyer benefit by putting his deposit on this platform?
Buyer's Trust is a financial services company, obviously registered with the FSP. They primarily, or we primarily, look at opening up investment accounts on behalf of home buyers. Now, what that means is, where ordinarily a buyer would have gone and put his deposit with an attorney, he can now elect, obviously with the seller's permission, or in agreement with the seller, to put the deposit into an investment account in Buyer's Trust. Now, here's the advantages of doing that. Number one, the account is opened up in the buyer's own name. It is not in the name of the seller's attorney. Number two.
Where's this account opened?
So the account is opened with Africa, right? A few major banks within South Africa. So the benefit is the buyer gets a very competitive interest rate through the banks. The buyer has full visibility of their money, right? Which normally, if you place it with an attorney, once you give your deposit, you've got to hope that your money is safe, right?
Okay.
And secondly, the one thing that I think buyers are not familiar with is the fact that they have to pay a portion of their interest earned. It's normally about 5% of the interest earned over to the attorney's fidelity fund. So with Buyer's Trust, you don't have to do that. Okay.
So you earn interest on the deposit and you get all that interest back.
You get all the interest back when you put your money with Buyer's Trust.
Okay.
Now, what's great about this whole thing is Buyer's Trust issues free guarantees to the home buyer. Now, a bank guarantee, which normally comes at quite a hefty price tag, if you had to go into your bank and you had to say, well, I have to show my seller that I'm good for 200,000 rand.
Yes.
They're going to charge you to issue that bank guarantee. You know, so the big thing about investing your money with Buyer's Trust is that there's no hidden costs. You know, know up front what you're in for. You don't suddenly get all those post and petties, and then, you know, you're shocked when you thought, oh, what, you know, where's my money? So Buyer's Trust, like I said, offers a home buyer the secure platform, and honestly and truly, it is so secure from phishing and scamming, which is what, you know, cyber attacks is so prevalent at the moment. It offers us or a buyer the opportunity to put the money into an investment account where they have full, it's transparent to them in terms of what's happening to their money.
Fantastic. Jackie, thank you so much, very much for your time. Lovely chatting to you.
Thank you, Cornelius.
Well, after the break, we visit a property listing in the sought-after suburb of Irene in Pretoria. And a bit later, we find out how to nurture the right mindset when you go out hunting for property investment deals.